Hello and welcome back to another Evolutions video. Today we're doing Leafeon. I'm starting this doll with a Never After High base that I have prepared by shrinking the head using acetone. I have also removed the hair and makeup, and now I can start painting her yellow. This is actually the first time I've shrunk a doll head, properly that is. I've tried it before but it didn't work very well and I didn't do it right. This time I used the fast shrink method. I'll link the video I used in the description below. As you can see at the back, the head did split while it was expanded, but I did stitch it back together, and as it shrunk, it formed back to its regular shape. After the doll is fully painted, I can start with the reroute. This design calls for a dreadlocks hairstyle. So for this, I used different shades of green and rerouted the yarn into the hair. I kept the yarn as it is because I thought the thick round nature of it would make it look like dreadlocks. I also mixed in a tan colour to link in with the yellow of the doll. If you're wondering, I make my reroute tool at home. It's very simple. I just cut an embroidery needle at the eye with wire cutters and then put that into an X-Acto knife handle. Now I can start working on the face up. As always, I spray the face with 2 layers of Mr. Super Clear UV cut flat and work in the base sketch of the face with HB pencil. After my mini-me video, which took so much Mr. Super Clear, I'm starting to run out, so I only did thin coats for this doll, which is why I used mostly acrylic for the face up. Leafeon has brown whites of their eyes and white irises, so to do this, I just filled that in with Arteza watercolour pencils. Because of the bold lines and colour story of this doll, it's really reminding me of my Christmas doll, the daughter of the Grinch. I feel like they would be really good friends in my little doll story. I really like that they kind of match, but not quite. After I've filled in the big block features on her face, I start working on the detailed line work on the bridge of her nose with a small dotting tool and brown acrylic paint. Now I can start filling in the irises with white acrylic paint. I find it really interesting how Leafeon's eyes are almost inverted, where most people's irises are brown and their eye whites are white. I find it funny that Leafeon's are switched. I thought this was going to look creepy, but I really like the effect in the end, and it really works with the colour palette. After adding some eyeliner and light pink lipstick, I can then spray the face with Mr. Super Clear and remove the hair wrap. Time to give her a tiered floral skirt. I've already tried to explain this like 3 times and it's a nightmare, but I'm going to try my best this time. Each piece of the skirt gets bigger. And you start with the biggest piece of the skirt, which is the bottom, and then you gather that up to the length of the skirt piece above it. And then you do that again for the one above that one, and then for the last one. I think that makes sense. You'll be able to see in the video. You basically just gather it all up and stitch it together to the next length of the skirt. And it ends up making a really flared, pretty skirt. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before, but the sewing machine that I use is the Brother M280D, which is the Disney edition of the embroidery and sewing combination machine from Brother. I really like it, and it's also automated, which means I don't need to use a foot pedal for it. So I really like that I can focus on the stitching and not have to worry about any wires getting in the way. I recently inherited a bunch of crafting stuff from my nan, and she used to make doll clothes for me and my sister when we were younger, so I found so many good little things for my dolls, like these tiny little metal poppers. So I just very simply hand sew these onto the back of the skirt to use as a fastening. Now for the shirt. For the main base of the shirt, I want to do a very simple ruffled tube top. So for this, I just folded over the seam allowance with some fabric glue and put 2 running stitches down both ends and ruffled it up. I didn't really mean for it to happen, but after the fabric was ruffled up, it just kind of looked like a strip of lettuce. And although it looks a bit strange, I do kind of like it because it really fits into the leafy theme of this doll. Speaking of leaves, big wizard sleeves that are made of leaves. To begin, I cut out small round shapes out of the same green fabric as the top and stitched down them with a blanket stitch on my sewing machine. My sewing machine, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if the tension's wrong. I've changed it a bunch of times, but sometimes the stitches skip over themselves. But I wasn't too mad at it for this because I did want it to look organic and kind of handmade, like Leafeon had made the dress herself. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. There are gaps in the blanket stitching, but as I say, it makes it look more natural, so I do like that. I then make the same shape again and stitch it down to make them like a pocket, and then cut the seam allowance to make sure it lies flat when I turn them inside out. Now for the part that properly makes her look like an evolution, the ears and tail. I start with a wire frame that I traced off of paper that I traced off of my phone. I went through quite a few iterations of this and couldn't quite get the size right, but I really like how they turned out in the end. I used the same method to make the tail. Just like in Jolteon's video, I covered some cotton fabric in fabric glue and then sandwiched the wire pieces in between that cotton fabric. I then used a whip stitch around the wire pieces to keep them in place. Right, so I haven't done the ears yet, but I thought I'd show you where I've gotten to with the tail. The tail's done now, other than obviously I'm gonna paint it, but it looks really sleek. I think I'm probably gonna stitch over the middle ones actually as well, but it just looks very clean. So yeah, I just did a bunch of really small stitches because this is the same technique I did on my Jolteon doll, but I just lowered the stitch length, I guess, even though I did it by hand, so that it's like all held in really tight, and because it's all glued together, the edges won't fray or anything, and then because it's wire, hold on, it can pose and everything. So that's really nice because that is my first posable tail for these dolls. I mean, the other ones technically can pose, but they don't, they don't have much structural integrity to do that. So yeah, very happy. Now I'm going to do the ears. After all the pieces are finished, I can then start painting them. I start with the same yellow I used for the skin tone, and then a pastel green, and then a deeper, more forest green. I really like how it's gradiented up the ears, whereas in the cartoon it's more of a straight line. I wanted to make it look more organic and float through each colour. Now time to attach the pieces. If you're going to do this, I would definitely recommend parental supervision and permission, because I am working with an open flame and a blade. After marking where I want the tail to go in pencil, I can then get to work. I start by heating up a thick needle over the flame, and then I push it into the mark where I want the tail to be. After feeling I've done all I can with the needle, I then get a blade and spin it around in that space to widen the gap. I then get my hot glue gun and fill the space with hot glue to then fasten the wire of the tail in there. I also go around the base of the tail with hot glue as well to make sure it's extra secure. I then just repeat these steps for the ears. Okay, so here in my sketch you can see I've given her a bunch of earrings, and I'm trying to do that now, so I'm just gonna put them up her ears, but I'm trying to do it. I've got a little epoxy moon that I made ages ago out of some leftover epoxy, And then I've got these little beads that I got from a bunch of craft stuff I inherited from my nan. And then I've got some gems that I got on Amazon. And I'm just threading these on a piece of string, and then I'll glue that to the ears because I don't mind it being permanent. So yeah, but I'm not going to film it because my fingers are like my index finger is like 2 times bigger than the actual earring, so none of the footage is usable. But I will show you the finished earrings. I forgot to show you the finished earrings because I did, so I'm doing this in editing now. But here are the earrings on the left ear. I guess it's right for me, but it's left for her. So I've got the one that I just showed you I was making. I ended up stitching them into the ears and then gluing them. And I made all these wire hoops and then just glued some gems on there for studs. Sorry, my cat's attacking my curtains. And then here's the other one. I've got some wooden beads that, again, I got from my nan. And these are, these beads, I think, are actually from a dream catcher kit. So yeah, and then I've got, again, a little bead there for a little stud. And then little hoops. And yeah, I really like how they turned out. Very hippie chic, how I wanted them to be. Yeah. Here I am printing her little companion Leafeon 3D printed figure. I'm using the same one from the Mike Pokey Prints pack that I will link below. I think it worked really well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the file. Files can't really be wrong unless they're corrupted or something. But the amount of times this print failed was insane. But when I finally got it to work, there was a small failure on each of the front feet. One of the front feet was completely just like all the layers just like splayed apart, and then the other one had a bit of a divot in it, so I just filled those spaces with epoxy sculpt and that was all good to go. And then so I painted the doll in the same yellow that I did the doll's skin, and then the same greens. It was all the same because obviously I made the doll with the color scheme of Leafeon, so I just made Leafeon with the color scheme of Leafeon. And then, like my Jolteon and Eevee figures, I glossed the eyes and nose and mouth with PVA glue. I really like glossing with PVA glue. I don't really see the need to invest in any big expensive varnishes right now because it just works really well. So yeah, it's a good budget hack. So here's what I got printed. I'll link the Cults files in the description. I printed off these platform shoes because I think they work really well for the design I'm doing. And this doll stand. This is no hate to the creator, it was all my fault, but because I'm using Ever After High, and this is a Monster High stand, I forgot that Ever After High legs are quite a bit bigger, so it scraped away a bunch of paint on her legs. But thankfully she's wearing a long skirt, so you can't see it very much. But yeah, so I'm gonna use this for Jolteon. But also, as you can see, the top's broken, and that's because just the nature of the material. Resin printing is a bit more brittle, so it just snapped under the pressure of me trying to get the doll in there without breaking the doll. So yeah, it's a very nice file, but I'm probably gonna have to do some tweaks and sanding. Also, I forgot to print off this piece as well, so I'll need to do that. But yeah, so now I'm gonna start painting the shoes. Now for the final part of this doll, the shoes. I've got this up on my computer now, but these shoes are the Monster High shoes by FLXMTZ on Cults. I'll link that down in the description. To link in with the accent colour of brown and beige, I've painted these shoes brown. I also thought it would be really fun to give her a kind of swap style on the classic Louboutin red bottoms, so I gave her green bottom shoes to match the leafy theme. To add some details to these shoes, I wanted to give them brown embroidery floss straps. To do this, I coated the straps in fabric glue and wrapped them around the feet of the doll, gluing them in place. I chose to do this instead of putting them onto the shoe itself because the foot doesn't fit in the shoe when you put the embroidery floss on the shoe. So instead, the straps are just going to be a permanent fixture on the doll's feet. Now I can put the doll's shoes on And it's finished. Let's look at the final results. So, what do you think of the final doll? Let me know in the comments. I really like her and I think she looks quite sweet. She's kind of giving me the vibes that she's the mum of the friendship group, a bit like Katara in Avatar. She just looks after everyone else. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.